In this lecture, we're going to talk about how to calculate the oxidation numbers for individual atoms in a compound. And there's two reasons for this. One is that it will help us to see how the different atoms in a molecule actually have different chemical properties in the way that they react. And it's also going to give us a way to do a self-check where we'll be able to say, all right, let's look at the oxidation numbers for individual atoms. We can average them and see if it makes sense based on what we've already calculated for the overall oxidation number for that element in the compound. All right, let's get started. So let's look at a molecule here. So we've got a molecule with 9 carbons, and if you look at the carbons, you'll notice that they're all different. Some have multiple bonds to oxygen, some have none, some have carbon-carbon bonds, some have just single bonds. And also, don't forget that with a line-angle structure like this, there are many implicit hydrogens that aren't shown. So the number of hydrogens on each of those carbons is going to be different too. And that's going to affect the partial charges that are on those atoms. And it's also going to affect, because of that, how susceptible they are to various different reactions. So there might be chemicals that attack at different sites on this molecule based on the oxidation numbers of those atoms. And so it's useful to be able to calculate oxidation numbers for each of the atoms. And you can do this for any of the atoms, the carbons, the hydrogens, or the oxygens. We're going to focus on carbon right now. So what we're going to do is look at the structure and calculate an oxidation number for each atom in the structure. The key to doing this method is to realize that oxidation number is the charge that an atom would have if all the bonds were ionic. Now, of course, none of the bonds in this compound are ionic. So this is a hypothetical thing. So make sure you understand the oxidation number is not the actual charge on the atoms in a molecule. It's the hypothetical charge it would have if this bond, and so let's look at this bond here, the double bond between this oxygen and the carbon. Those are covalent bonds, but they're polar. So we know there's a tendency for electrons in these bonds to be located closer to the oxygen than to the carbon. Spend more time in this vicinity than this vicinity. And so we know it's a polar bond. And so what we're doing when we do oxidation numbers is to imagine that it's so polar that it's ionic. Okay? And this is a bookkeeping method for keeping track of where the electrons are. It's going to be useful to decide what things get oxidized and what things get reduced in a reaction. Okay, so let's just go from left to right in this molecule, and I'll demonstrate this method. And for this method, you have to include all the bonds. And so remember that when you look at a structure like this, there's all these hidden or implicit hydrogens. So you've got to draw those. So I'm going to draw some hydrogen. So I'll draw a hydrogen here. Draw a hydrogen here because we know every carbon is going to have 4 bonds. And so if there's bonds missing, we know that in a line angle structure, those are bonds to hydrogen. Okay, once we've drawn the bonds on the atom that we're going to analyze, we look at the bond and say what atom on that bond is more electronegative. And you do have to know for this that carbon is more electronegative than hydrogen, and that oxygen is much more electronegative than either one of them. And nitrogen is a little bit less than oxygen, but more than carbon. All right, so these are the rules you need to be able to do this. Okay, you can also sort of, this one's easy to see just by looking at the periodic table. Oxygen is further to the right, so it's more electronegative. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this. So we've got carbon is more electronegative than hydrogen. So what we do is we draw a little dipole on here. And so we're showing the dipole moment of that bond, the bond dipole moment. And when we're done, what we do is we just circle the atom. And the net number in that circle is going to be the oxidation number. So that means that this carbon is going to have an oxidation number of -2. Let's do this carbon. So we draw in the implicit hydrogen, and we draw some dipole moments. We know that carbon's more electronegative than hydrogen, so we draw that. Notice that there's also bonds to other carbon, but of course a carbon-carbon bond is nonpolar, so it doesn't result in any bond dipole moment. Okay, so we'll circle this carbon, and we see that it has an oxidation number of -1. Let's go ahead and circle these numbers to call them out a little bit. So we draw in an implicit hydrogen, put in the bond moment. We see this carbon is going to be -1. Let's take a look at this methyl group. There's a lot of hydrogens on that carbon, which means that we're going to have a very reduced carbon. The only carbon that's more reduced than a methyl group is methane itself, because it's got 4 hydrogens on it. Okay, let's do a couple more of these. So we've got plus, minus, plus, minus. So we've got -2. And we have another implicit hydrogen here. And so we have plus, minus. We have a carbon-carbon bond, a carbon-carbon bond, but then we have this carbon-oxygen bond. So we know we've got to put a minus and a plus, since oxygen is more electronegative than carbon. So we circle this, and we can see that this is going to net out to 0. Okay, got a couple more, 3 more to do. So we've got minus, plus, minus, plus, and this is our first double bond, and so I want to emphasize that each bond within the double bond you have to analyze separately. Okay, so this counts twice as much as a single bond to oxygen. All right, so we have carbon-carbon bond, so those don't matter, so we need to circle this. So notice we have a positively oxidized carbon. And we have another one with lots of hydrogens, or several hydrogens on it. So we've got plus, minus, minus, plus, so we've got a -2. And our last carbon, so we've got 3 bonds to oxygen here. So we've got minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. So notice here, we've got a +3 as our oxidation number for that carbon. So notice there's a whole variety of different oxidation states here. And you'll notice that there are 2 that stand out. We've got these ones that are +3 and +2. And those are going to, that implies that there is a partial positive charge on those carbons. And you'd expect that, since this is an electron withdrawing atom here. It's going to pull electrons away and leave a partial positive charge. And that means that these are sites that when you take organic chemistry, you'll see that when these molecules react, if there's something with a negative charge on it, it will tend to attack these sites here. We call this a carbonyl site. So the chemistry of the compound is related to the oxidation number of the individual atoms. Okay, so we have these. Well, how could we check them? How could we check this? Well, there's an easy way to check it, and that is that we have the oxidation numbers for each of these atoms. I'm going to circle it in green a little more so it stands out. So we've got a -2, a -1, a -1, a -2, a -3, a 0, +2, -2, a 3, and I think I have not forgotten anything. So there should be 9 total carbon atoms. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, if we average these numbers, we should get the oxidation number for the overall compound. Let's do that on the next slide. So we have the individual numbers here. I've made it a little bit less cluttered. Let's average them to see the overall oxidation number for carbon. So this is just for carbon. Let's remind ourselves that by just putting a carbon there. Okay, so you have -2, -1, -1, -3, -2, 0, 2, -2, and 3. So to calculate the average, we're going to sum those and divide by the number of carbons. Let's make sure we have the right number of carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good, we got all the numbers. So we're going to divide by 9. This is going to give us our average. So this is going to come up to be, looks like we've got 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. So a -11. And then we've got a +5, so that's going to give us a -6. We're divided by 9, so we can say it's -2/3. So that is the overall oxidation number, -2/3. Let's make that just a little neater so that we'll be able to see what I'm writing here. Okay, so -2/3. That's the overall oxidation number. It's also called the average oxidation number. So if we calculate that number by some other method, it should match. We'll do that on the next slide. So to self-check with the algorithm method, we need the formula. And the only trick here is making sure you don't forget any of the implicit hydrogens. Remember, hydrogens are not shown unless they're on a heteroatom. So we've got those hydrogens here, 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 here. So you go through and make sure you included all the implicit hydrogens. Okay, so we've got C9H14O. And this is a neutral compound. So we know the oxidation numbers have to add to 0. We don't know the we're supposing that we don't know the average oxidation number yet, because this is a check. So we say we've got 9 carbons. So we've got 9. We don't yet know the average oxidation number, or we're pretending we don't, since this is a self-check. We've got 14 hydrogens. We know hydrogen, unless it's bound to something like a sodium or lithium or potassium, unless it's bound to one of those metals, in compounds it's going to be +1. So virtually all the stuff we're going to do is going to be +1. So we've got +1 for our carbons, and we've got 4 oxygens. So for the oxygens, we know that it's going to be in compounds -2 unless it's in a peroxide. And a peroxide always has this structure, this structural motif. This is a peroxide. So unless the word peroxide is in the compound, or you see this oxygen-oxygen single bond, you don't have a peroxide. So peroxides, the oxygen's -1, but unless you see this kind of weird structural pattern, you don't have a peroxide. So it's going to be oxygen in the compound, it's going to be -2. Okay. So we've got that, and the atom, or sorry, the molecule is neutral, so this has to add to 0. So all the oxidation numbers have to add to 0. So we have this. So now we do a little algebra. We say we're going to take this, and we got 9x plus 14. Looks like -8 is equal to 0. We can say, let's combine this. Oops, so this is a 9x. Let me redraw that. So it's 9x plus 14 minus 8 is equal to 0. So 9x minus 6 is equal to 0. And 9x is equal to -6. And we can solve this by dividing both sides by 9. We get x is equal to -6/9, which is equal to -2/3. And notice that is, so we're talking about carbon, we're talking about the oxidation number for carbon. So carbon's overall oxidation number in this compound is -2/3. And notice we got that without referring to the structure. We did that just with the formula. And independently of that, we got on this other slide that if we averaged up all the individual ones, we got a negative 2/3. So the results are self-consistent. And the consistency checks are really valuable to you as a student because they mean in the middle of a quiz or test, you can figure out if your answer is right before you submit it. So you know, okay, I calculated it one way, I got this. I calculated it a totally different way, I got the same answer. Now I'm confident the answer is right. So part of your growth as a scientist is being able to check your own work by developing all these tests for consistency. So in summary, we can figure out the average oxidation number if we have the formula. But if we wanted to go in and get really detailed and see how oxidized individual atoms are, we need to use this method using the structures of the molecules. I realized I didn't include any atoms with formal charges, so I want to give one last example. So let's look at something with an atom with a formal charge. So we'll just use a hydroxide ion. So I'll draw the full Lewis structure out for a hydroxide ion. And you can tell from this Lewis structure that if I do the formal charge for this is going to have a formal charge of -1. So the procedure for doing oxidation numbers for atoms with formal charge is exactly the same. You just have to include the formal charge. So we've got this bond. So we've got a plus minus here for figuring out the bond dipole moment. So when you circle the atom, you include that formal charge, and you include it in the total. So we've got a -1 here and a -1 here. So this would just be -2. So just as you expect oxygen in a compound, whether it's a regular compound or a compound that has a formal charge on one of the atoms, is going to be -2. So don't forget your formal charges. Probably best to put those into your structures before you even begin your analysis.